Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what is up? I am back after a 1 week hiatus, or nearly 2 weeks. Welcome back to the Bleach live chat, Bleach anime live chat for the Thousand Year Blood War. This is my cover of. Actually, I missed doing the review for episode 9 and giving my prediction for episode 10. Excuse me, I missed doing the review for episode 10 in my review for in my predictions for episode 11. So, episode 11 is already out, and I didn't watch it yet. Intentionally, I didn't watch it, but I wanted to make sure that when I did watch it, my predictions would be on point. So, making sure that the music isn't too loud. I don't even know if you guys can hear it, just as long as the music isn't too loud. So, first off, let me turn this camera on right there. We don't need that on. And let's get these things up. They Love Jax. What is going on? People starting to flood in. Let me open this up. So let me shrink this down. Reginald user. People starting to pour in. You know. And as always, guys, if you're following me on YouTube, head over to TikTok and follow me on there, because that's where I'll be doing these. Of course, I upload the video on demand to YouTube, but if you guys want to watch me live doing the live chats, this is definitely where you guys want to be. So hit the link. I think I got my TikTok in my channel banner on YouTube, but nevertheless, so going back to episode 10, which was named The Battle, and it was the last 3 chapters before the 10 chapter Everything But the Rain backstory to Ichigo, where they're currently at right now. So I'm going to talk about Everything But the Rain in a little bit, but first I want to talk about The Battle, which covered chapters 520, 525, 526, and 527. So episode 10 was actually named after chapter 526 in the manga. Now, they actually made a few changes. Now, this was actually the second part of the fight for Retsu Unohana, who, was revealed as Yachiru Unohana, the first Kenpachi. And she went to Muken, which is like the lowest level prison, under the order of Shinsui, who is now the new captain commander ever since Yamamoto's death at the hands of Yuhaba. And his first order of business was basically her last orders that she would receive. Because yes, I mean, they showed it in the manga, you guys, they showed it in the anime. She does die at the hands of Kenpachi, but it was for a just reason. So first, let me just scroll down a little bit, because I do want to take a look at one moment in particular. Now, of course, as the fight's going on, the whole purpose of this fight is to get Kenpachi back to his former strength when he was little, when Yachiru Unohana and Kenpachi first met. Ever since that fight, of course, Unohana, she pretty much lost that fight because she was gravely wounded by Zaraki at that time. Technically, she won it, but she kind of lost because she ended up getting a huge scar in her chest where Zaraki had stabbed her at that time. And throughout the entirety of Bleach, she always had her hair wrapped around her chest. So of course we didn't know. We just thought that was a regular hairstyle, And of course they revealed it during this chapter. Well, actually the chapter previous to this one, they revealed that the scar was there due to their past fight, and she ended up learning healing Kido as well because she was such a bloodthirsty criminal during her heyday that she would kill people so quick that in order to relish the fight, she would heal them just so they can keep fighting. So, she was a crazy. But it kind of makes sense now. All those times she was smiling, you know what I'm saying, during like the earlier arcs in Bleach, and people would get scared. That kind of makes sense out of that now. But there's one thing in particular. So Minazuki was her Bankai that she activated during this fight. So it's two things that they changed in the episode that they didn't do in the manga. It's two things in the manga that they didn't do in the anime, and I'm gonna kind of point it out. I can't play the episode, but I do have it paused at a frame that I'm going to show. So as you see right here, she activates Minazuki, which they didn't necessarily show exactly what she did. All they see is like a hand creating like this bloody smile that we can only assume at the, just looking from the manga, you can probably guess that it's blood, but she just waves her hand out and it creates like this long smile, right? And another thing is that if you notice, her blade actually shrinks, and I don't think they have a clear cut of her smaller sword. I don't think they have it, because I remember seeing a panel in the manga in the past where when that red liquid came off of her sword was smaller. And of course, they never had a chance to really explore what her Bankai can do, because immediately after she activated, it was a little bit of a tussle, and Zaraki ended up killing her. So there's that. Okay, here's the fight right here. So technically she won it, but she was wounded. She ended up getting stabbed in the chest. And ever since that day, Kenpachi, he survived, but he lash around her, almost like in a shield, kind of. If you remember Ichigo's first fight with Byakuya, and Byakuya had Zenbo Sakura Kageyoshi, and how Ichigo was kind of just dashing around, and then he jumped in the air, and Byakuya sent Zenbo Sakura to kind of like capture him. And then Ichigo just kind of just waved his sword, just slashing all around himself rapidly. That's kind of what's happening here. She has these blood blades kind of just whipping around her, almost like a shield, kind of like an offensive shield, kind of. And it seems like that's what it does. It gives her the ability to do that, which is kind of odd when you think about it, because she never, like, normally when you look at a person's Shikai or a Soul Reaper's Shikai as well as their Bankai, why is oh, my bad. But normally when you look at someone's Shikai, it kind of resembles what their Bankai is. Her Shikai is actually a summon, unless, and this is like a theory of mine, I can't remember who the dude's name is, but it's the guy from Squad 11 who's friends with Ikaku. And when he activates his Shikai, it kind of fans out, but then we found out later that wasn't his real Shikai. I wonder if kind of that was her Shikai being summoned. I wonder if that was kind of like a cover-up. You know, because she didn't learn healing Kido until later on down the line. But I don't know. I kind of, if that was like a fake Shikai. But that's kind of like a theory of mine, but not to get too deep into it. So that was kind of like an interesting thing to point out. So yes, at this point, all the original first generation Gote 13 are dead. They're all gone. Retsu Unohana or Yachiru Unohana was the last of them, and she ended up getting killed by Zaraki. But the interesting thing that happened after the fight was Kenpachi heard a voice, and I don't think they showed it in this chapter. I think everything from the heaven, eliminate from heaven. I think this is the last part of episode 10 in the anime. So they don't necessarily show you or tell you what the name of Zaraki's Shikai is, but I can tell you right now, the name of it is called Nozarashi with the command drink. And they never really explained how it worked, but with the command being drink, I can only assume that it feeds on the power of Kenpachi Zaraki, and the sword gets stronger based on that. Or the sword kind of fills Zaraki up with more power, and that would kind of make sense once you guys see his Bankai, something happens. So I'm kind of wondering if that's how his Shikai works. I don't know, you know, on a technical level. But you're gonna see right here, you know, the sword is actually calling out to him. But it's not only that. The sword is actually talking about everybody that it's been with. You know, you see Zaraki right there as a kid, and you actually see, I think this is like the 10th Kenpachi. I can't think of his name. But this Kenpachi, quiet as kept. This one was a coward. Like, he only got the title of Kenpachi because he did some shady shit. But no, he hears the voice of his Zanbakuto for the first time ever. Now, the story then goes to, and this is where it gets into episode 11, actually. This is what crosses over, and this is where things get actually interesting. And I'm actually going to talk about, this is where we cross over and talk about episode 11. Again, I didn't watch it yet, but we're all going to talk about it, because they already revealed the name is everything but the rain. And So that part is kind of like already spoiled, but I do want to talk about something. So at this point, Oetsu Namaya, who is the one who created the Zanbakuto, one of the members of the Zero Squad that directly guards the Soul King, they have Ichigo and Renji. He has Ichigo and Renji at his palace. And basically, they were fighting off the Asauchi. Now, the Asauchi are actually blank souls. They're kind of like blank souls that go into Zanbakuto and they get past the new Soul Reapers. And over time, what happens is the more of a connection that Soul Reaper has with the Zanbakuto, it changes form into something that, works. Why is my phone ringing? I hate when my phone rings. But yeah, it changes forms into what we see, when they activate their Shikais and their Bankais over time. So it's based on a relationship between the Shinigami and the sword. So that's what the Asauchi is. Every Zanbakuto has it. This is important to remember. Now, during this little test that Oetsu was giving Renji and Ichigo, they had to survive for, I believe, like 3 days in this pit where there were a bunch of Asauchi, a bunch of blank souls just trying to attack them. And, obviously they're there to get their swords rebuilt. And Renji survived. Ichigo didn't. He failed. So what happened is that Oetsu sent him back to his hometown, because what Ichigo has to do is pretty much find out who he is. And I'm going to tell you guys something. Now, this is somewhat spoiling what's going to happen within the next few episodes. Let me just scroll down. See right here, it says Oetsu was telling him, he could fix it, but he was saying it won't change either way. Zangetsu won't be fixed, or more likely, I won't fix it. So as I told you, 10-9-8-7-6-5-1-4-3-2 Oetsu. I have no swords for a fake Shinigami. Now that, as much as a diss as that seems like, that's actually a hint about Ichigo's past. It's a reason. So check this out. Just keep continuously scrolling. You say, now let me make sure I got this. Okay. So he says right here, ain't no good the way you are now, Ichigo. The fact that an Asauchi didn't choose you, the fact that you were able to fight with an Asauchi so far, you don't understand how serious that is. So you got to return to your roots, and you got to know about your roots, even if that means not being able to come back. So you have to understand, going back again, to the point that every Zanbakuto has an Asauchi in it. That's a blank soul. And over time, it connects with the Soul Reaper, and the Ryatsu changes the Asauchi into the forms that they take, depending on how strong the relationship is between the Soul Reaper and the Zanbakuto. Not only that, it also depends on how fragile or how strong that Zanbakuto is. The Zanbakuto is. So you have to understand something. The whole time Ichigo has been fighting, from the time he was first imbued with the Shinigami powers from Rukia, all the way up until now, he never had an Asauchi in his Zanbakuto. Now, of course, you guys know about Ichigo's. It was revealed, Ichigo does have Quincy powers because his mother was actually a Quincy. And this is where we get into everything but the rain. Now, I'm gonna spare you going through all the chapters. Now, this is a 10 chapter little, everything but the rain spans through 10 chapters. And what I think they're going to do is that I think They're going to split this into Everything But the Rain Part 1 and Everything But the Rain Part 2 for episodes 11 and 12. That's kind of my guess, because again, I didn't watch episode 11 yet, but it takes the name. And I have a hard time believing that they're going to try to gather all 10 of these chapters in one episode. If they do, great, because that gives us more time, because they did say they weren't trying to do filler and things like that. But this is an important part of the story as to who Ichigo is. Now, let me take a look at this. So, how can I type this in? Hold on one second. Because I just need to make sure I'm not giving anything away before I'm able to tell it. So give me a second. Trying to make sure I don't have anything showing that I don't want to show. Let me do it like this. Oh, okay. I think this is how I'm gonna end up doing it. All right. So I think that's good. Okay. So getting back to the chapters, right? Everything But the Rain. Now, again, like I said before, I think they're going to split this into two parts, two episodes, because I think the most chapters they did for a single episode in the anime was, I think, like 6. But then again, some of those chapters had very little in them. But I don't, I don't really remember how long each chapter lasts. But I think they're going to try to split it into two different parts. Everything But the Rain Part 1 for episode 11, and Everything But the Rain Part 2 for episode 12. So that's my guess for that. So the backstory here is that Ichigo is actually going back home to his father to learn about his Quincy mother and his Quincy heritage, because it's important for him to know that. Because you got to think, since he hasn't had an Asauchi in his Zanbakuto, he never really was a Shinigami in the first place. This is like a big plot twist right here. It's not, the biggest plot twist, but this is like an interesting take. So the whole time Ichigo has been fighting, thinking he was a Shinigami. He never really was a Shinigami at all. He always was a Quincy, and he was substituting his Quincy powers for Shinigami powers. Mind you, he got imbued with, Shinigami powers from Rukia, and his Quincy powers went to go power up that form. If you understand what I'm saying. This is like an interesting take right here. So, as he just going down, they're talking. He finally speaks to his father. His father is in his Soul Reaper robes. And they're gonna have to have that conversation. And he knew he was coming. Your mother was, you know, and this is when White first showed himself, which again was a hollow that Sosuke Aizen had created to try to imbue Soul Reaper powers and Hollow powers together. And it ended up biting Misako, if I got her name right, on her shoulder, which I'm pretty sure they're going to show in the episode 11. And she ended up killing him, but the soul ended up kind of like entering her body, and she almost committed what's called soul suicide. Basically, another soul tried to take over hers, and it was so powerful that it damn near killed her. You know, so that's what that was. And I'm kind of gonna leave the image right here. Now, the last thing I'm gonna talk about in episode 11, and I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna see what they do for episode 11, and then we're gonna go into another live chat immediately afterwards. Is one of the biggest things from this everything but the rain story is that for the entirety of Bleach, this was always known as Hollow Ichigo. And of course, you know who this is. This is Old Man Zangetsu. But again, going back to, if you remember, when he first showed himself to Ichigo in that little underground area where Kisuke Urahara was, and they tried to train Ichigo into being a Soul Reaper, Old Man Zangetsu didn't want him to turn into a Soul Reaper. And that's because of his Quincy heritage, which he is actually connected to. That's as far as I'm going to go with that. But I will leave you with this, though. The whole time, from the earlier days of Bleach up until now, we always thought this was Old Man Zangetsu. This was Zangetsu the entire time. The reality, this is actually Zangetsu. This is Zangetsu. So when you find out who he is, your jaw is going to drop. I'm not going to spoil that, but I'm going to leave that there because there's a lot going on. But these next few episodes is really going to be something special because these are more so some of the biggest spoilers. You would think that little bit I told you was a spoiler. Wait till you find out who Old Man Zangetsu really is. That's the big jaw dropper right there. But not only that, there's more information on Zangetsu that is going to reveal itself. You know, like for example, that's not really Zangetsu's real form, but you're going to see what I mean after a while. You know, but yeah, Ichigo, he's in for a big awakening, and he's going to have to discover his Quincy self in order to get his powers back. And it's going to be interesting how that unfolds for the people who haven't read the manga and are looking forward to what happens next in the upcoming episodes. So this was my cover of episode 10, as well as somewhat giving my predictions for episode 11, which again, I'm going to go watch because it's Tuesday. So the episode is already out. I'm going to go watch it, and we're going to do another Bleach live chat immediately after, or at least later on today. But yeah, man, it was a very interesting episode. You know, I know this episode was kind of lengthy, but I had to cover quite a bit due to the fact that last week I didn't have an episode for you guys. But yeah, everything but the rain. I'm thinking they're going to split it into 2 parts, but if not, it's going to be interesting to see them trying to compact all of that into one episode if that's what they do. So with that being said, man, thank you guys for watching. Peace. Remember, follow me on TikTok, ADSplay101. I try to do these Bleach live chats once a week and try to give more interesting live chat discussions about the Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War, and talk about the chapters of the manga and what chapters they're using for the episodes in the animation. So that being said, thank you guys for watching. Peace. Remember, be humble in victory, be gracious in defeat, show no mercy in battle. World Warriors Collective. See you guys later.